Good morning. Welcome to Morning Motivations with Dan Stratton. It's been a pleasure coming to you week after week. I've been getting a lot of great feedback, some good questions. Had a lot of one-on-ones with people that have seen our broadcast and been motivated to get moving, get some things going. Title of today's message is Apply. Apply. So you're going to really think about the concept of applications. And it begins with, what do I want? What do I want? How do I get to the place where I begin to make measured incremental steps towards actually achieving what I'm going after? The concept of applying myself, the concept of moving myself towards a goal. So the concept of that is really daily applications. Last week we talked about resilience, how to stay focused, how to overcome that onslaught of opposition, toxicity, negativity that comes to us from others, comes to us even from ourselves, from our bad habits. And so today I want to talk about really thinking about what we want, how to apply ourselves towards moving towards what we want, how to make what we have available to us, our supply, available on a regular basis. For me, it's difficult to teach at all without referring to scripture, because for me, scripture really helps me to align, to think right, and move forward. So the scripture that comes to me today is ask, make a request, create a petition, write a list, begin to think about what I can do to apply myself towards. So a lot of what I've done, a lot of the writing I've done, a lot of the coaching I've done, a lot of the team building I've done are going to be talked about today on today's morning motivations. And there's a lot of simple, easily applicable, easily accessible daily habits that you can begin to think about as you begin to move towards a goal, towards something that you want. Applying yourself towards a goal might include something like losing weight, or it might include something like learning a language. It might include applying for a job, a pretty obvious one. It might include improving a relationship. So how do you get yourself to a place where you're not just to everything, but you're actually trying to put together a plan, a strategic plan that you can work towards on a regular basis? So I always use a concept called the 5 questions. So I always say to myself, if I knew I was going to have success, what would I do? And it's important that you think about this when you're deciding what you want. What do you want? What do you want? So how do you begin to move towards it? There's an old saying, people talk about it all the time. How do you eat an elephant? You eat him one bite at a time. That's kind of gross, but you eat them one bite at a time. The idea of just taking the smallest doable step and then beginning to apply yourself to it. You know, if you're trying to lose 10 pounds, you can't lose 10 pounds in one day. So you've got to make good decisions each and every day. And the way that we get thrown off on a regular basis is we don't have a plan. We don't know what we're going to do when temptations come. We don't know what we're going to do when opposition comes, because we don't have proactive, purposed, written down in many cases, ideas and actions that help us to stay on course. So applying yourself, the idea of application is actually a proactive concept of, I want to achieve this. So over the last couple of days, I've been on the phone with somebody who, wants to get married. Okay. And so when I was talking to this young man, I said to him, you got to kind of think about it. I asked him a bunch of questions about where he is in the situation. Of course, he began to throw up obstacles. He began to throw up, well, I can't because of this, and I can't because of that, and I can't because of this. And I said to him, well, that's not how you're going to apply yourself towards getting to your goal. You've got to You've got to figure out a way to overcome those obstacles by doing small, doable steps on a daily basis. So he said, well, what would you do? I said, well, I'm going to tell you what you should do. And so I gave him a deadline. I gave him, I threw out all the obstacles that he had, because every obstacle it just wasn't a real obstacle. It was just an imagined obstacle. Sometimes we have imagined obstacles. You can always make incremental progress towards it. Like, for example, in the idea of getting married, I mean, he's like, well, I've got to have this much in the bank. I've got to have a new car. I've got to have a new place. Well, you can ask somebody to marry you, and then together you work towards achieving those other things. Even the concept of buying the ring. You don't have to have the ring when you have the conversation to do it. Now, that might be ideal. And if that's something you really have to have, then go get it. And then apply yourself towards going to get it. So the scripture that comes to mind right off the bat is, ask and you shall receive. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened unto you. Starting your process, your application process, begins with imagining that you're going to achieve what you apply yourself to. You don't apply to a job you don't think you're going to get. At least you shouldn't. You have to at least give yourself an opportunity to get that job. So you apply. You may not think you're going to get it, but you're hopeful that you might get it. Right? That's enough, so that you begin to apply yourself to it. If you're looking to improve in some area, lose weight, learn a language, get a job, get married, whatever it is, then you need to just begin the process. Fill out the application. Rewrite your resume. Smallest doable steps. And then, of course, it doesn't do you any good if you fill out your application and you don't get it to the right place. And the other part of applying yourself is the concept of, let's start over a little bit. Know what you want, but then whatever you do in those small, doable steps, do it well. Do it excellently. Take a little bit of joy, take a little bit of pride in creating that resume, in making that application. When you apply yourself to do something, do it in excellence. Do it well. I use an exercise on my doable steps. I'll go back over my day, and I'll kind of write down how my day went, how I spent my time during that day. I'll go through, what I did. If I had conference calls that day, what were we working on? What were we trying to do? And then I'll ask myself, was that really necessary? Did we even have to do that call? Or whatever I did during that day, if I had a period of time when I did something that really was something that was a waste of time, I didn't really need to do that. And, we all have periods in our day that is wasted. And then some things that we do were necessary. This morning I got up, I took a shower, it was necessary. I brushed my teeth, it was necessary. Okay, and then the third category that I always look at is productive. How do I make the unnecessary things productive? How do I make the necessary things productive? How do I really begin to move towards development, towards growth, towards victories, towards profitability on a regular basis? How do I turn these things around? And just thinking about things that way will help you to begin to feel better about yourself. Will begin to help you to feel like something good is right around the corner because you're working towards it. Athletes talk about it all the time. They talk about, they have a list of things that they're going to apply themselves to. They're going to apply themselves to their workouts. They're going to apply themselves to making sure that they get good sleep. They're going to apply themselves to how they eat, their nutrition. They're going to pay close attention. Is that food that I'm about to ingest, is it necessary? Okay, maybe it's necessary, but how do I make it productive? Is it good for me? Is it going to increase my strength? Is it going to increase my flexibility? Is it going to increase my speed? Is it going to increase this, the way that I think? So you're asking yourself on a regular basis with every little incremental decision throughout the day, you're applying yourself to making sure that you're being productive. For me, this helps me with another tool that I use on a regular basis. And this tool is a word that I received a few years back. And this tool works like this. I'm looking for clarity. And clarity will lead me to efficiency. Efficiency leads me to productivity. Productivity leads me to growth. Growth leads me to promotion. And promotion oftentimes leads us to greater profitability. That's not always a financial profitability, but it's profitability in my ability to solve problems for myself, solve problems for those people around me, and begin to create an environment where everybody's applying themselves. One of the biggest sadnesses that I come in contact with around the world, whether it's my work in the prisons or in Cuba or in the business network or in my church or even in my daily personal life, is people that are disengaged, that they're not applying themselves in any area. They've given up, and so they don't know how to begin the process. So the process simply begins, and I'll repeat myself a little bit here with, what do you want? What do you want? What would you do if you knew you wouldn't fail? Okay, then once you ask yourself that question, you go, what's stopping me? What's stopping you? What's stopping me? What is the obstacle? Well, a lot of times the obstacle is simple. I don't believe I'll succeed. I don't believe it'll be productive. I believe it's a waste of time. And sometimes it's hard to get somebody to overcome that. So you start small. You start small. You start with just small victories on a regular basis. I want to repair a relationship with my mom. I want to repair a relationship with my brother or my sister. All right. Let's start with the smallest doable step. If you haven't spoken to them in a long time, think about getting their phone number if you don't have it. That's a small doable step. Maybe you call another sibling or a friend of your mom, and then you get that number. And then you sit down, you allocate a time. It's a small doable step. You allocate a time to make that call. And I suggest strongly that you get yourself in a place where you're going to bring some value to that call. You're going to apply yourself. We're going to come into that call. You're going to say the things to bless the person, to improve the quality of that moment for that person. You don't want it just to be, I got to call my mom, a necessary thing. And you don't want it to turn negative, so you turn it productive. How can I bring value through my application to this conversation? At work, in church, everywhere I go, I'm often trying to remind people to prepare for whatever they're about to do. People come to hear me speak. They come to preach the gospel to, but they don't actually take the time to prepare. They don't pray before the meeting. They don't make a request. They don't actually, think about what they want to get out of it. And so then they just go through the motions. And something that's, could be productive becomes a waste. It just becomes an incredible waste. So learning to apply yourself is absolutely important. So ask yourself, today, what do I want? What do I want today? What do I want to achieve today? For me, I want to be a blessing. How may I serve you? So here I am on this call. It's one of the ways that I can be productive with what I've learned in my life, with the resources that God has brought to me, so that I can make them available to other people. I'm applying myself so that I develop myself, get stronger each and every day. Even as I get older, I'm getting stronger spiritually. I'm getting stronger mentally. I'm getting stronger emotionally. My relationships are growing. I'm getting stronger relationally, right? My resources are growing. So even though I may not have more money, I have I know people that might be interested in investing in certain things. And so I'm trying to apply myself so that I can achieve my goals, which are to be a better person, to be a better, I guess, service provider. I don't know, servant, someone who can help people better on a daily basis. So I think about those things. I pray more. I purpose to be kinder. I purpose to be more at peace. I purpose to say things nicer. And so in every concept, every thought, say things clearer. I think about how I say things. Was that said well? Did the person hear it? Did they receive it? Did they benefit from it? And all these things. So today, my morning motivational thought for you is ask yourself, what do you want? And then begin to apply yourself. Use the 5 questions. What would I do if I knew I wouldn't fail? What is my obstacle? Answer these questions. What's my next smallest doable step? Then the 4th one is, what am I thankful for? That gets you into the attitude to move. And then visualize the end from the beginning, which is, what does a miracle look like? What would it look like if I achieved that goal, that thing that I want? So thanks for tuning in today. We have a whole community of people called The Deeper Life that would love to help you on this process. Success after success after success has happened. Everything from huge business deals to just finding a place to live, to getting out of your house. Many people are depression. Many people are dealing with a lot of things. So we're all called to do something great, but none of us can do it by ourselves. We all need help. I know I do. Have an awesome day, and I hope you enjoyed Morning Motivations with Dan Stratton.